You still stressed about buying our first house, sweetie?
Good morning, everybody. How are you? It's so good to see you here today. No worries, Carrie. You do what you gotta do when it comes time to go to the dentist, right? Let's take a look at what we got. Morning, Mr. Bowles. How are you? Okay. Looks like everything is working okay. Let's get to it. As is our custom, we're going to review the signals in the NQ and CL that transpired between 6 a.m. and present when the room opens at 8, and we're going to log those. Once we log those results, those theoretical results, we're going to have an idea as to whether or not we need to be live or be in sim for the next trades coming up. Once those signals are in play, we'll be watching the NQ chart on the far right, our 15 swing strength chart for opportunities that involves some measure of discretion. So that chart is our most advanced chart. And we'll be tracking the 4 signals we monitor in the E-mini S&P chart, waiting for 9:30 to actively engage that market. Our signal involves an open price line from the 60-minute chart on the NQ side. And when we're below that open price line, we're looking for short signals. When we're above it, conversely, we're looking for long signals. So starting at 6 a.m. this morning, we'll go ahead and we'll put a line right there. We're watching for signals such as this one at 6:18 and tracking what happens by the next long signal. You can see here that the first 2 setups were shorts that didn't pan out. The third one was an actual short. Then we have a crossover trade here that gets stopped out on the way back. So 3 losers, 1 winner, followed by a 4th loser at the 8 o'clock hour. Now we're coming up into 8:18. So we basically have 4 minus 2s and 1 plus 1. I'm going to come over here and fill that information in. Minus 2, 1.25, minus 2. So that spreadsheet is now updated with the signals that we've gotten. And you'll see that it's telling us that the next trade should be in sim mode if we're following those money management principles. CL on the 1-minute chart, we were also below its 60-minute signal, its 60-minute open price line. And so from this point forward, we're looking for signals in the direction of the trend that is established by that blue line. We got a couple dinkers here. And then let's stop out about. You can see we're up hovering now near that line, and the 809 signal is active. So 043063. We'll go ahead and put that in. So 0, 4, 3, 0, minus 6, minus 3. Then we had a 3 and a 1 over here on the right-hand side. Now we're tracking where this last one will be at 809 at the close of the 818 signal. Signal on the NQ at 818 is coming. In your histogram guidebook, you'll note that this is a pattern 5. We don't track the patterns other than 1 and 2 in the NQ, but this meets the qualifications for a pattern 5 signal. Pattern 5 signals historically pull back towards their white dot line before moving out and up. If it is an all-out balls to the wall going to new highs movement, we watch for some kind of a breakout signal where it moves with extreme volatility out away from the high. If you're going to approach it from there, put your stop just underneath the small pivot low to the left of 818. Pattern 5s generally have a 40, maybe 50% chance of becoming one of those irrational, volatile breakouts. And so I usually advise just telling people to wait for it to pull back into this area before they consider a long. And if maybe nothing else, even shorting it if other conditions indicate that. For the purpose of our model, though, all we know is blue and white, no patterns involved. Over on CL, the 809 signal has actually come to its fruition. We note that 12 ticks were crossed. Go ahead and put 11. Just shortchange it a little bit to account for things like slippage. Next signal coming up is at 821 in CL. Now, over on the E-mini S&P, it's hard to tell what's going on. We're going to crunch it up and we'll see that it's just basically a choppy nightmare. If we go back and look at yesterday from the open forward, we'll see that there were some really good moves and punches up from the open yesterday. 928, 949, 10 o'clock, 1014, 1025, 43, 1101. So we had the same thing happen yesterday where we have these kind of choppy movements up until the open. So we'll be watching for that. Be aware that that may be happening right now. Over on our most advanced chart, the NQ. Nathan, I can give you the workspace for the chart. I'm not going to go through all the settings at this point. If you'll stand by, I'll get those over to you, and you can transcribe those from the NinjaTrader 7 workspace. So we'll hit share, copy link. All right, that workspace is now in your GoToWebinar chat box. You just need to install it in the appropriate folder and open it up to get the settings. On the NQ chart on the right, we do have a 15 pivot swing strength, which gives us access to bigger movements. And you'll see here it's a standard 714 calendar day look back with a 15 for the pivot swing strength parameter. One of the things that's noteworthy, especially noteworthy, involves punctures. So there are three places there's something rather that I want you to see that you may or may not be aware of when it comes to these signals. Number one, when the trend is down and you have your first puncture of a trend signal, I'm going to say this again, everybody listen up tight, okay? Focus real quick for a second. When you have a trend moving average such as this, and it's indicating one direction, but the trend signal from time warp or flux or prime is puncturing the dot, it is the first indication of a trend reversal. It means it was time for selling, but right here nobody sold. It was time for selling, but nobody sold. Okay, so this can be the very first precursor to a trend reversal. If you take trend signals that you get in and you hold for a while, or you suspect we may be near a bottom. Okay, so this becomes the very first area where we think a trend might reverse and the NQ might go up from here. And you can see that does in fact happen. Orange, unpunctured, white, unpunctured, orange, punctured again, trend preserved. Unpunctured, 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 punctured, trend preserved. So none of these white dots were affected. as an alternative for you to study and backtest, one thing you may consider is removing your moving averages completely from your trading system and instead monitoring this teeter-totter parameter, not parameter, condition. When the seesaw is balancing towards the sellers, we only take selling signals. When the seesaw moves to the other side and buyers are pushing through these selling pressure time stop lines, we're only taking longs. Okay. So in the case of this chart, that technique is definitely valid as of now. Now, that component of time notwithstanding, one of the techniques that we spend the majority of our time here studying involves splits. Understanding how time is subdivisible into thirds. And so we're going to move through the chart, and I'm going to put signals at the splits as we go. So the last signal was at 8:03. The signal to the right of that is at 8:41. Using the law of oscillation, we know that the very first line in the sequence was a buying pressure line right here. The line to the right of that is going to be a selling pressure line if we adhere to the law of oscillation. So that very first signal is 8:15. The next signal to the right, current bar is 8:26, 8:27, 8:28 will be our next selling pressure subdivision. So we'll go ahead and we'll put a marker right there just to remind us that that is in fact coming. Now over here, we already have our next set of signals between 8:41 and 9:09. So I can prepare for that in advance by putting a set of signals crossing over the space of time between 8:41 and 9:09. I can have my oscillation in place, white, orange, white, orange now with the 33.3 and the 66.6 subdivisions indicating where those reversals in time will take place. I've got my next 8:28 signal sitting here waiting for us on the right hand side of the chart. We'll see what happens when we get there. Over on CL, we've had a signal since we've been training. It started at the close of the 8:21 candle at 53.51. We're pretty much at break even. 53.50 will be closed here right now. It's only good for one tick. So when we use the split technique, one of the things that I do is I keep a rectangle that normally spans the distance of the offset between the lines. And so if I do that over here, you'll see my arrow is a little under where it's supposed to be. It needs to be just a little higher. So there should be, or there could be rather, a line right here extending forward. So this is an area that I would be watching for selling pressure to come in to this NQ move today. We'll go ahead and make it orange, make it dash, and I'll pull it down here. What I like to do also is black out the other lines, because from that point forward we're observing the splits really. Here we go. So for over here, our white dot would be right there, our 815 signal. So if you are long in the NQ, this is an area that we'd be watching for the banks to suck people into a false breakout. Uptrend is preserved in the NQ. $8.30 was the trade balance economic report. We've got that one out of the way. 10:30 is crude oil inventory reports. And there are no other economic reports in the way now. I'm going to try I'm going to watch this area here for confirmation of a counter trend short. It's also an 832 signal on our chart over here. I don't see big enough pushback down yet on the NQ. 70.25 is a psychological round number too. I'm going to stop picking highs for a second and just let you guys know that this is where I was thinking of taking a short right here. Over on our CL chart, we have a signal that was stopped out with a -6. On the NQ, tracking only ones and twos, produced a $4 move up, which puts the money management chart on the live signal side next. So the next signal we would take would be 837 on that side. How many of you today are in both training rooms at the same time? You're logged in on two devices, one with Ron in his room and one with me in my room. We wondered if anybody might be doing that. Okay. Oh, I wanted you guys to know today is a reversal day. Yesterday was actually on our chart, the daily chart, Earl. Last night was a one of those lunar dates where the focal point of the moon was hit. So we're presently, just so you guys know, yesterday was that day. So I want you to get a feel for what usually happens around those dates. That's right, there's a drive down. So Earl, we could perhaps intimate that this was a false breakout above the 120, just like this one was, and just like this one was. Would you like to learn a new technique, or do we want to just focus on some signals today? Joseph, those dates are available to customers who own the Alpha software, the Tachyon Alpha software. The indicator provides those dates. Okay. So let me make sure we're not missing anything here. 8:37 signal on the NQ. It's a 5-minute window. Right here, I'm going to just demonstrate what the entry technique would be.
Order pending. Order filled.
Our stop would go below the white dot. And now, as we're engaged in this signal, we're going to hold it until 8:42. CL, we don't have a signal coming up until 8:44. Okay, so on the daily chart, I want you guys to try and follow me here if you can. Every chart has what's known as a resonant angle. This happens on a 5-minute chart, a 5-week chart, a 5-second chart. Every chart has a unique resonant angle. Take care, Carrie. I want to see if I can help you find it here today. So Joe, when we're done, we're going to find a line that defines highs and lows that goes this way. And we're going to find an equal but opposite line that is a mirror reflection to that original line. It's basically going to be an isosceles triangle by the time we're finished. Let me demonstrate the technique here for you. You'll see, and this requires an area of resistance above and below for us to get a feel for what's going on. So I'm going to come back over in this area. Let me turn off the those signal lines like that for a second here. Okay, So what I want to show you is this. You're going to take that line, and what we'll find, Joe, is that there's an angle that defines stuff that's happening. It's kind of like a trend line, but there's more to it. Let me see if I can find it for you. And once you find it, you never have to do anything else again. We're looking for touches to the tick, and then we're looking for candle closes on the line. So this one's pretty close. I'm just going to move it around a little bit. That one's pretty close. Let's come over here. Yeah, that kind of works too. Feels like it should have a little more sweep to it. Okay, so Joe, the angle that I've chosen so far, we're going to close our NQ trade here in 45 seconds, by the way, and then log the result in our spreadsheet. The angle that I've chosen here is defining a lot of things. So for example, Joe, do you see inside where all these little wicks are coming down and touching and bouncing? And yet over here, a high is getting hit. Your eye, you're kind of following, right? And what I do is I now take this like a slide ruler and I move it around. And I'm looking to see if there were any other places where it was relevant. So like right here, and then on the retest, that little guy, these little touches, the closes on the line. Whoop.
Order filled.
Just 1 point on the NQ chart. And if I have the right angle, I should be able to take that line and move it around and see if other areas are being affected the same way. I haven't done this for the ES in a while. And you'll notice that when I just kind of shift it around, a lot of people don't know to look for this, so they think the trend lines are dynamic, that they change. Here's a really good area for us to cut our teeth on it and see if that's the case. Yeah, so here's a good example of that. And if I take this and pull that line down, you'll see multiple areas where the angle is being touched. So there's a close there, there's a bottom, and you have these little touches here along the way, right? So things are happening at that angle. And then I like to come over to where there's a run like this one. And you see how it defines the channel? And so this can take, this is probably the one thing right now that annoys people, that it's a little too difficult. They wish it had a little less discretion. But if you just take your time and kind of walk it forward, it truly is worth it. Because once you have it, you don't ever have to change it. And it's unique to every market too, by the way. Yeah, we're getting pretty close. Yeah, okay. That's pretty good. I would like it to be a little better than pretty good. Okay. The bigger the line gets, the more sensitive it becomes because you're working in fractions of an angle at that point. Sorry this is taking so long. So what I'm looking for is how, when you have these little clusters like that, what defined those clusters. So like right here, my eye is drawn to these lines. So I want to pull this down and see if it defined that. That's just it. There is no slight difference. The idea of a slight difference is an illusion. I just haven't found the right one yet, Joe. I haven't done this in the ES for a long time. There's a reason that it's important. Yeah, these three up top there are getting hit. That's getting hit. Let's try up over here now and see how this one performed. So we've got an angle. Yeah, this is pretty close to, for our purposes, what we need. Yeah, right there. See right there? Okay, let's check it over here. Get rid of these arrow lines. Again, sorry this is taking as long as it is. Sometimes I can see it right away. Sometimes it takes me a while. Vertical line. All right, so when Joe, I have a line that I like. I'm going to draw a rectangle. Rectangle starts at the base of the line and goes as far out as I can go. Do it again. Somewhere on that line. Then I'm going to take another line and draw it in the opposite direction. This is a ray. So I'm going to make the bottom ray green. And I'm going to make the top ray red. Things are about to get a little weird. Get rid of your rectangle. Now, take your green line, put it on the closing price of every Orion signal. Put it on the closing price of every Orion signal. And watch where the highs and lows line up. Everybody with me so far? If you've come to my Force event, you know this is the beginning of something. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so now, did I miss any? I don't think I missed any. I got one right here I did miss. Okay, I guess what we're going to do on this side, everywhere there is a signal, we're going to put a sister line extending up to the right. Like that. Did I miss any? Yeah, the current one. Right there. Okay. All right, so based on that, this next signal, there are two lines that are very important. The one that we're currently at, spawning from the signal, we're at that high right now. So 2733, 34 area. And then support, there's huge support today in the 1615 area. The target for the short is right here. And I can't tell you why, other than to tell you that it is. So if it fell that far today, it would be 2650. But the likelihood is it'll be a little higher. It'll be closer in the 2660s area by the time we get to it, if it rolls over that way. So that's a technique that you can use to help gauge where a market is going by the next signal. So Tom, Joseph, do you see the last signal that we had here on the 22nd? Okay. The line above us from the prior signal, you see that guy right there? That was the target. The prior red signal above us. So the closest green signal to us right now is this one. So yeah, there's support underneath us right there. Being out in the middle of that area, the market will naturally gravitate towards those support fields right now. So we have this one, 753.50 above us, which would be just all hands on deck, short the hell out of that. The intermediate is now 34.35, and then the closest support line we have is down at 17.18. But the lines all interplay with each other, the signals all interconnect with each other. And you're looking at the very beginnings of force. Over here on the NQ, Joe, do you see where we drew that split? The signal was at 850. Take a look right there, what happened. Right at that split. That chart just keeps performing, man. It's pretty crazy. So right here we were looking for a high to come in. Those of you that drew that at home, as I drew mine, you see what happened when we got there. The next signal coming up will be 57, 58, 59. So we'll come over here, copy paste that stop line right there. Over on CL, it did not hit the stop, but it didn't really go anywhere. -2. And then over on the NQ, it did actually peter out and closed at our stop line, -2. Okay, we're at the next split right here. Watch for a pullback on the NQ first before we take this split. This is what Ron and I are calling a faux 5 or a false 5. So on the NQ, I'm actually anticipating the market to pull down first here before it goes up. It's a lower percentage signal with trend. On CL, we have a crossover trade right here
Order filled.
with a stop below the crossover candle. It closed above the line.
Order pending.
Let's see where it ends up by 9:02.
Order filled.
Nice. Minus 11. $9.02 will be our next signal in CL. It is below the blue line. That's coming in 27 seconds.
Order filled. Order pending.
Okay. So now I'm holding this until 9:10.
Order pending. Order filled. Order pending. Order filled. Order pending.
I added a second contract
Order pending.
onto CL
Order filled.
because there was a 2-tick risk right up here. Let's see where we end up by 9:10. I'm going to mute the microphone for just a second. Over on the NQ, we've got a signal here at 911.
Order pending.
Stop below the white line.
Order pending.
Goes until 9:15.
Order filled.
On our chart, if you want to run some splits just to practice, we're at that first split line right now. If you guys have sound dropping off, it's not your problem. It's just me muting my microphone. I'll do a better job making sure you know that it's off. Sometimes when I'm sitting here, Tom, I'll just run a razor over my face. I didn't think you wanted to hear that. Here's something you might be interested in. I'll put a link to it in the if you're a Republican president, the markets usually go up after your State of the Union. If you're a Democratic president, the markets fell. Last two times Trump spoke, it went up. Move my stop to break even on the NQ. 921 signal. I used to talk about politics in the program, Tom, and that ended up being a bad decision. So now I don't mention it. We are in uncharted territory. I mean, things that I would think were just super obvious, right? Like how can you support XYZ? And it's just I've never seen anything like it. Normally sane people just losing their minds. And when you ask them questions like, well, what's your solution? I don't know. We got to do something, though. And it's those people's fault. Wow. Okay. $923 is the next signal in CL. It is below the blue line. So that's going to be a signal that we're watching. It's also what we know as a faux 4 or a false 4 signal. I think a lot of it is A lot of it is reflective of how far banks have
Order filled.
pushed people.
Order pending.
The disparity in wealth notwithstanding, most market economists and people who study social dynamics, culture, at least the people that I've been able to sort of sit at the virtual feet of and listen to, all agree that the balance of wealth in the world right now is unsustainable. When you have companies like GE and Amazon and Apple making the kinds of profits that they make and paying next to nothing, if nothing, in taxes in return for being a part of the game, inevitably, historically, no exceptions, there is a rebalance, often as dramatic and drastic in the opposite direction. So you see the rise of democratic socialism that is not entirely, not without merit, in my humble opinion. So we will wait and we will see, and what has happened before will happen again. Seems on CL we sold the bottom. That's always good. Model in CL has us in sim mode anyway.
Order filled.
Ooh, I didn't want to do that.
Order canceled.
There, we'll just get out of that one. Yeah, so I left that NQ position on. I'm going to leave it until 9:53. See if we can't hold on. We're presently up $175 on that trade. Let me get the NQ updated here. There we go. So if you apply any kind of splits to the NQ right now, it's going to go between 921 and 953. You can see where we're at. And we just punctured it. So presently on the NQ, we're up $300. Rocket Man, where am I on the day so far? Count performance. Down 315.
Order filled.
So that gets me back to flush. So if I close here, I'm break even on the day with all those losers in CL. All right, I feel bad, but I took it. I'm not going to apologize. That's why I like that chart, Tom. NQ has rescued me 2 weeks in a row off of that chart. I've gotten some pretty good signals. And we're open. So if you don't have the settings for this chart, I'm just going to review them with you real quick. This is a time warp signal. The first day back search is 7. The second day back search is 14. We're referencing calendar days. The swing value is set to 15. And the dot offset is set to 15. We're using the split technique to identify wedges or perforations in time where we anticipate reversals based on the laws of oscillation that I teach. Generally speaking, those produce some really good results. So was that arrow on the right line? No, this is the right line right here. So if you think we're near the high, you're not wrong. This could be a stab up. Yep, so the stop should be right about there for that signal, and should last right here. I'm not a big fan of taking counter trend signals today, so I will advise you that this is an area I want to take a short in. 1 minute within the open here. That signal is not one to be trampled on lightly. But we are seeing Tom right at that first split, Joseph right at that first split between 921 and 953. The expected behavior pattern, these stabs up into the highs. So Joe, there's an indicator on our website, Thomas, that customers will use to ride out those signals, and it's called the Trend Stalker. I can give you a peek what that looks like. And they'll ride a trail stop out most of the morning into the afternoon. Kind of looks like that. I have mine set pretty aggressively, which you know by now is me. ATR. So they would have more of a 2.7 or a 3 on the trend line. So it would look like that. The target is whenever the trail stop gets hit. So they get in the signals and they hold them until that lower line gets touched. I think you have a color candle option on this one too. Oh, the time warp is taking over that. Yep. So if you have a very conservative trail stop, this one should make it look a lot different. You see how they're hanging on for a really long time? Yeah, so I don't use that. And the 931 call for the win, that was a nice split right there. Actually pretty excited about that 931 signal. That was not too shabby. Our next split coming up is the line to the right. Right there. So we'll go ahead and pre-draw our arrow. And now I'm going to show you, Joe, how our technique from the ES chart can apply to the NQ. Just give me 1 second to sort my thoughts here. Where are you going? Where are you going? Okay. Okay. So Tom, you see how you see where I drew that line? Just like on our daily chart, right? This is a pretty advanced technique, so if you're not following along, it's not you. It's just not something people are watching for. So get rid of our drawing rectangle. And now you know what to do. We did it before. Was it that one? Yeah. Should probably blow it up. There we go. Who knows? Maybe we'll see something relevant here. Maybe not. Uh,
Order pending.
7:10:25. Okay, there's our line, Joe. So there's a new set right here. Right there. And right here. I couldn't get in time. So Joe, if you kind of work your way back. You'll develop a network of SR that has profound implications and very low risk entries. And I have forced customers that just play the bounces off these lines when they use their force signals, which are outstanding. Okay. Here we are. Where are we at? Okay, so signal wise, we're still in sim in the NQ, minus 3.5. Go ahead and log that. CL, we're still in sim. That was minus 3. ES, the 930 signal, 933 signal was a net loss, minus 0.5. This one was 0. $9.44, we're looking for a close above the moving average. Joe, that was our entry right there, man. Teach a new technique. It'll be fun, they say. Joking. Did this one close above the MA? 32. Yep, that actually closed above the MA right here. Very small risk on the ES. Good morning, Parmesan. Oh, damn it. I have the wrong signal on. I should have had a buy. Get your mind right, Leidic. Get your life together. Should be up almost $1.50 right now on the ES. And almost $200 on the NQ. Next stop for the NQ is up here at that red line, and then Joe, the next target would be up here. Ooh, I'm missing one. But Joe, do you remember how I said the previous signal's line becomes a target for the current signal? Pretty good way to gauge risk reward, right? So if you're long on the NQ, you might want to consider an exit right around 70.36 half. Muting the microphone, clear my throat. Demonstrating the CL technique at 9:49. It's an 8-minute window until 9:57. Selling it near the low of the morning. Yeah, Tom, I took a short right here. If you wanted to scalp it and just get in out near the bottom, see if they double bottom it, you would get $50 if you were right there. There's a lot of new people in the room too, so I'm trying to demonstrate the technique. CL keeps hurting me. That's a weird thing to say, isn't it? Markets can't hurt you. They're just an inanimate object. $9.53 coming on the NQ. We have not had a white penetration yet.
Order filled. Order pending. Order pending.
If it goes through my stop, Tom, I'm going to reverse the position and hang on for dear life.
Order filled. Order canceled.
Yeah, crude came within one tick.
Order pending.
It would help if you turned it on. You ever go to print something and you're mad at the printer and then you realize you never turned the printer on? You mean to tell me the magic electricity didn't make it work? Clearly the magic electricity was breaking.
Order filled.
Joe, watch that yellow arrow on the NQ. What do you say, guys? You want to take some profit? I'm gonna.
Order filled. Order canceled.
But my long-term target is down along that red line. That actually gets me at $200 for the day, which is, I try to get to somebody's monthly payment in a day for a daily goal when I can. You saw where my exit though was, Joe, right here, right? On the ES, we have a crossover signal. On the close of this candle, your stop is above the crossover candle, and now you're going to hold it till the close of the 10 o'clock signal. Okay, watch for the bounce right around here. You are seeing something you're really not supposed to see. A fundamental construction technique that I teach in my force class, a 2-day workshop that reveals the absolute best of what I know and the vibrational tenets of GAN theory. Perfection, pure perfection. Come on. Come on. There it is, Tom. The other bounce is right here. That's the conservative exit. Good place to get long, by the way, if you want to take a scalp. Swing! Swing! All that from some drawings on a screen? We just drew some lines on a chart. Starting with technique on a daily time frame, and then applying that same technique to the intraday charts, which is very important for you to understand that anything you learn, there it is, on a daily chart is applicable to a minute chart, is applicable to a 5-minute chart. Everything we're doing here works across multiple time frames. You can do this with Amazon with options. You can do it with Amazon or Google or Netflix. This is how I scalp on my 20-second force chart. Okay, so on the ES, we're going to log that winner right there. It was 1.25. And now we're looking for 6 to 8 ticks underneath this white line. So 29.75, 28.75, 28.25 is 6 ticks. So you have 1.5 points there if you want it. 2 points would be 27.75 right there. I'm going to call it at 6 ticks on the ES, and we'll log 1.25 points and 1.5 points. Let's go ahead and get this party started. Not without some glue. We need some glue. That'll work. Print. A new race car. I don't need a new race car. I need a boat. Did I show you guys the thing I was looking at? You'll get a kick out of this. Do you want to go back and look at the daily chart, Steve, and see what Orion said? Remember what we were watching for, where the resistance was? So today that price was 33.5 on the ES. 33.5. So 33.5 is here. Not too bad. Okay, so 1004 was a stop out. Right here was the breakout. $10.04 was a stop out. Very quick trade. -1. Okay. On the NQ, the next split, forgive me for not getting on board with that. I don't know what happened with that line. Where does that line go? Over here. The next split is right here. So our exit time-wise in terms of a split was on this signal right there. And it just barely clipped the stop. So right there. When you have the split technique, guys, and Joe, you notice how some of the candles appear on, there's the line here, and then the candles on either side of it. In a perfect world, it would say, this is the one. But I've been, to be mechanically situated, I've been defaulting, good word, defaulting to the signal to the left. But what I have found is sometimes, Joe, the signal to the right, it's off by just a fraction. So while a large percentage of the time this one will be the right one, it can be the one just on the other side of that line too. And in fact, you can see which one of these two candles is closer to the split. You see how the one to the right is kind of overlapping it a little bit, and this one is nowhere near it. So we'll go ahead and do that. So now we'll take that line on the close of that candle, take this line, I shouldn't have moved that, and put that one over here. Blow it up so you can see where the support levels are. And those angles will give you good entry points. So for me, looking at this, Joe, I see that green line and I'm like slobbering right now. Num 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 num. Delicioso. Yeah, that's cool. We learned a lot here today. I'm excited for you guys. Okay, so the first split coming up is this guy right here. Downtrend is preserved. That white stop line was hit. She going down, boys. All right. We have a crossover here, a puncture on the ES. You're looking for 6 to 8 ticks underneath. So 27.75, 25.75 is the most a scalp can do. And then that's kind of your target right there for the aggressive exit. Your stop on the ES puncture will be right here. It just works out better, Steve. It pans out good with calendar days. For our CL spreadsheet, we're going to log the 2-tick winner. Now it starts working well, right? And we're currently short until 10:14 on CL. ES, you're a few ticks away from your scalping target on the puncture trade. Puncture trade is the third setup of the 4 setups we follow, the 4 horsemen of the trend apocalypse. And guys, you hit your target on the ES. So we're going to record that from here to here is $2 or $100 per ES contract. On the NQ, we're coming up to 10:14, or CL rather, forgive me, CL. Okay, we're at that split. Joe, this is a pattern 4 right here. So I'm just going to put a pattern 4 in parentheses underneath. Just so you know, this is sometimes a place where we see a massive reversal in the opposite direction. This is on the first split of the NQ chart between, the second split rather, between 9:53 and 10:22. The new line is going to go right here and right here. Let's go ahead and fill in the times. 10:03. And this next one is 1012. Whoops. Okay. Pattern 4 broke through its lows, so I'm anticipating it to continue down now until 1022, guys. When a pattern 4 breaks through its lows by more than a couple ticks, it will usually move down now until the next one. So Joe, here's the technique. How do we know how far it's going to go? There's no lines, right? Take the last two red lines right here. And now bring it down to here. So I'm anticipating it to go to at least this arrow line right here. Time, it's one of the principles of time that I teach in the Force course. So I'm gonna get rid of that. And I'm anticipating it to go to that level right there. Ding! It's like he knows where it's going before it gets there. He's a genius. I'll follow him anywhere. Oh, so let me show you what I'm looking at. If anybody has one of these, they can come to Force. It's a paddle board, a powered paddle board. They call it a micro skiff. Check this thing out right here. Ready? That's what I want, man. That's what I'm saving up my shekels for. It's a company in Florida. This is what I would like to be doing on my summer vacation. So, did everybody understand what I did? Yes, you are in Florida. So Joe, you need to go find somebody who has that, shoot them, call me after you clean up the mess, then I will come get the boat and teach you Force. So I'm gonna go through the technique one more time in case you missed it the first time I drew it. I tend to get cocky with this stuff. There were no lines underneath us. However, Joe, I had the last two right here. I'm gonna make them obnoxiously large. I had this one, and I had this one. So one of the principles, properties, one of the properties of time in regards to support and resistance, time has memory. There is memory inherent to support and resistance in time. When there are no more lines underneath us, we project 100% of the gap of the last two lines. So it becomes like a piano where the keys are the same distance from one another, guys. The next piano key is down here. So I take my trend tool, trend channel tool, and I'll draw a line here, and then my other line is there, and I drag the whole darn thing down, and that projects my gap. Everybody good with that? So that's a way to know where it's headed. That works with horizontal support and resistance. When you're using open price lines, it works with resonant angles. Any SR, any support and resistance that is based on a time signal must obey that property. It has no choice. Okay, next signal coming up is 1022. On the NQ. On our NQ mechanical system, just took out the stop before it cascaded down right here. We're going to record a 4 3/4 point loss for that, and it had us in sim, so it'd still be good. On CL, the market that took all my money away in the beginning is now giving it back. $100 per contract on that last signal. CL still has us in sim though. ES is presently at a signal 1015. We are holding until 1028. This is the first of the 4 signals that we teach, the 4 horsemen of the trend apocalypse. This is a signal with trend at 1015. This is a place where historically the banks have pushed the market lower at that time. So we're presently at or near break even for that signal. So Joe, if you were going counter trend long at 1022, where would you enter? 1024 signal on CL is a system short. We will be holding until 1032. Model has us in sim mode. What would the target be on the counter trend? Aggressive exit on the counter trend long would be here. Conservative exit would be here from 1022. And Joe, that's as much as you're going to get or can expect to get from the 1022 signal. It's as much as you can reasonably expect to get. Okay, on the ES, you're looking for a puncture of the white line, presently right here at 725.75. Let's see if it goes through. We'll come back to that. We now have, Joe, a new line right here. So there's a new low line right there, which will probably get tested. And right here too. This was our target for the counter trend reversal. We're now looking for a new set of splits, dividing time into thirds. Time is a substance, material. It has properties. When you see that, Joe, look at where the split was here to the left of that line. We'll go to the default methodology. Signal to the left of the line. It appears the candle that has the most, though, is this one right here. This is a faux 4. These 3 candles are progressively lower lows, so I expect this to come up first. We'll teach more about the faux 4 at our Las Vegas event coming up in April. Anybody see my rectangle anywhere? I'll just redraw it. We'll redraw it. Sorry, too much to track. On the ES, there was a stop loss limit hit. So from here to here, it's -1. We do have a cross of the stop line for this faux 4 signal right here. It's the first indication that the NQ trend might be reversing right here, guys, back towards the upside. So the next target, if that's the case, the next place it is drawn to is right here and right here by the next time. On the ES, we're watching for a crossover signal, the second of the setups that I teach. If it crosses over and closes over, the moving average in 30 seconds, that will be permission to go long. On this chart, I'm using a 50 period moving average, I believe. Yeah, 50 EMA. Okay, on the ES, you have permission to take a crossover signal here, stop below the crossover candle. No way to know for sure which way it's going to go. All we can do is follow the rules if that's your rule. Stop filled on the ES crossover protective stop loss. Engaged -1. CL signal coming in 33 seconds. Second crossover for the ES arriving in 27. ES crossover at 28.75. Your stop goes below the candle and you are long from right here with a stop underneath right there. CL, we have a short 1035 signal after the crude econ. You are short from 53.60 with a stop above the blue line at 70. $10 of 10 cents rather of risk. $100 per contract. We are at the next split in the NQ. This is a buying pressure split right here. It's going to be on this candle. That is a pattern 5. This one was a faux 4. If you don't believe that I said that, go back and check the recordings. Pattern 5s generally are exhaustions and reverse back in the opposite direction. Okay. If this candle, when it closes, pushes more than 2 ticks above its own high, it is a signal to go long. Okay, so NQ right now, you are short with trend unless it goes above this line, then you are long. Okay, now you're long mode on the NQ. It did violate that high. So you can put your stop below the candle right here. And let's see how she does. Yes, from your crossover, you're closing in 26 seconds. Six, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out. You're out of the ES. get what you can off of that signal. It's only good for 3 ticks, but ES kind of chugs along with these 1 and 2 point winners. Your next entry on the ES is long at 31.25 on the breakout. Presently in CL, the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 signals were all spot on. Spot on. You're presently short at 10:35 until 10:46. 11-minute window here. From the short, you are presently up $280 per contract if you're taking every signal in the system. On the NQ, the 1030 signal with the econ threw it off, but you have to document a -4 on there. Still in sim in the NQ. Muting the microphone. ES signal with trend at 10:45. You're going to hold that signal now until 10:52. This is our resistance line that Steve had me draw here earlier from the resonant angle line too. So your stop is below the white line, your entry is as close as you can to 30.5. You're going to hold it till 10:52. On the NQ, if you were long per our last call, time to get out. We're also above the moving average too. So we're going to fill in some lines here. I know there's a lot on here. It's one of the reasons why I don't show as many as I do. It tends to confuse people. But when we spread it out, you can see there's a little more information there. Okay, on the CL signal, we're going to record it as a $28, $27 winner if you're taking all signals. Model with money management had us in sim until just now where it changed over to live. ES you have until 10:52, 4 minutes from now. NQ is experiencing chop and the end to the bull run at 10:46 as expected, with resistance in this cluster of green lines right here. Ultimately good shorting off of this level right here. This red line right here, guys. Muting the microphone. I'm back. I'm here. Joe, do you see how those 4 green lines are holding as support right now? What do you think that means? What do you think it means? Going up. That's right. No, Bill, I hit my daily target, so I've been stopping for the day, but we're probably close to $500 or $600 on the ES right now from 10:45 until 10:52. It was a point and 3/4, almost 200, almost $100 per contract. And now we're looking at a signal long at 10:53. There's our long, Joe, on the NQ. 10:53. We're going to hold that now a long time. We've got 10:53 to 11:04, 11 minutes on a 1-minute chart. That's a lot. Also on CL, we have a crossover. You are long. We had a white dot here, but it didn't cross the blue line until just now. So you're long from 71 with a stop below at 53. And you're going to hold it until 10:55 in CL. Okay, you're out of CL. So from here to here is another 27 ticks. And that one was live per our spreadsheet. So we had green down here below. You were good for $270 per contract. Sorry guys, I got distracted. A few more minutes till the 11:04 signal. On the NQ, we were at the next signal at 10:58. A good place to look for a long would be a bounce off of this zone right here. If it bounces off of that zone, we're watching for it to go to, there's not much room here because Joe, the prior signal, is right there. So we would hope to achieve up here if it came down there. So 2-to-1 risk reward if you want to take it with trend. Steve, we're up at that ES reversal point though, right? It's where things get hard. Here's where things get hard. Yes, we're going to exit in 30 seconds. Wait for this candle to close in the NQ before you do anything. Okay, now would be a good place to try a long with a stop below at 70.10 3/4 on the NQ advanced chart. On the ES, we're going to take a small loss. We entered right here and we finished at 11:04. But we kind of expected that, Steve, right? 3 ticks of loss. I think we can live with that. Next signal will be a breakout of the blue line. We have a new set of lines on the NQ mechanical chart. So any candle close above the white line before 11:12 will be valid as a crossover. As stated a few moments ago, long in the NQ until the yellow arrow line is hit. Stops below at 710 3/4. You're long in the ES. This is a puncture trade. Long at 33 3/4. Stop below the candle right here until we get to 11:08. NQ, you're going to hold it till that red line gets touched. 1 tick before if you're feeling a little paranoid or anxious about it. There it is. Ding! Here's your target, Joe. So if you were long from where we said on the NQ, you should be out right here with about $160 per contract. So that was about a 2.5 to 1 risk reward. Okay. On the ES, your contract that was long from the puncture is out. You're presently long again at 11.08 until 11.16 with a 1.25 logged on your sheet. On the NQ mechanical system, you had a crossover right here. You're presently long at 22 with a stop below somewhere around 17.25 until 11.12. Okay, protective stop loss hit on the ES. CL as well, protective stop loss hit. -9. -1.5. So ES is currently, again, having trouble up near this red line that we were talking about earlier when we started our day. NQ mechanical system will be exiting in 24 seconds, and we have an 11.12 signal on our chart right here. Okay. 1112 signal 2 resistance lines right here. There's 2 resistance lines coming down from these green lines too. So if we go via the last split on this short, you can expect it to come down into this green line right here. So this is what we're looking for, Joe. Okay, target hit on that one. On the NQ, you had 2 ticks. And now you are short on the NQ below the white line. Stop above this candle until 1125. I'm going to run to the restroom. I'll be right back. Microphone muted till I get back. Good job, Joseph. Okay, I'm back. Close of the 1127 signal is the end of the 1112 cycle. Right here. If you were short, there's no room to go. You also have double support lines right here. And another one right there. Nope, wrong color. There's a lot of support in the NQ off of the 98 level plus the 7,000 level. So watch for a rise up out of this area here until 1136. Over on the ES, you had a crossover trade that got stopped out. This candle here closed below, took us out for -1. There was another crossover trade here, but the risk was pretty high for what we got, and it finished break even anyway. So we'll just document the $1 loss on our ES chart. On the NQ from the crossover trade that I left you with, it did not hit the stop and finished $15 lower than it started, and puts us in live territory for signals. And then on CL, we've consolidated up here with a very small 5-tick winner, which was also live. So you've got $320 in live signals off the CL since it changed from red to green. Watch what the NQ is doing over here in our advanced chart. And there's that meteoric rise out of the low. Oh, you're welcome, Steve. I'm glad you were learning something today, and grateful that I was a part of that. Have a good trip to Missouri. Thank you as always, Tom. I'll stay with you a few more minutes here, and then we'll start to wind it down and review. Hey guys, yeah, it's recording. Today's session is recording. So let me go ahead and save today's workspace. If you guys want it, it'll have the construction lines on here. If you want to be able to go back and replicate what we did. So how do I do that? If you wanted to see what the chart looked like without any of the rays on there, that's what today's NQ signals produced at the times that we were waiting for stuff to happen. We've been here since 8 o'clock together, I think. So there's really no, if you were watching this and you didn't own the software and you were trying to figure out, can the guy do what he says he could do? I think we've sort of taken any doubt off the table, right? That in fact, these moves are predictable. Looking pretty good. I love that chart too. It's a nice looking chart. Yes, rounding out the day here, 11:35 just took a protective stop. If you wanted to have your stop just above the highs over here, you could at 11:35. We're waiting for 11:43 to exit that position. And CL, you had one more entry here at 11:36 above our trend line. And so you finished where you started, didn't go anywhere. We'll just put a 0 in here. If you actually waited for a live designation today on CL, you made about $300, which is kind of cool. And then the last two signals on the NQ mechanical chart taking us right above, right up back to this line. If it crosses over, we'll take a signal. So we'll go ahead and we'll save these, see where we're at in the equity curve here. We have a small dip down, but we're up at new equity highs at around $18,000 per contract. With the money management worksheet too, we're almost at the $8,000 mark with much less risk, much lower drawdowns too. So that's down there on the NQ. CL today, we'll see how she fared. I want to make sure that it's updating. So I'll go ahead and click here. Yep, we're updated. So CL actually broke a new equity high today above the 10K mark. And our money management started to, we had a bunch of flat sim areas, but now we're reapproaching equity highs, and good chance that this market goes back into trend mode, and then we'll see a new equity high that'll take us up towards the $10,000 mark in that model. And then over here on the ES today, let's make sure it was updating, because that one had a pretty meteoric rise last week. It's due for a drawdown. We started at 15.7. We finished at 15.780 something. So a little under $100 of motion today. that model there, while probably the most boring of all four, has one of the lower risks, one of the lower risk profiles, the highest liquidity by far, and just produces, man. So those four signals in the ES are definitely producing. So the methodology, Tom, whether it's in NT8, NT7, CL, and QES, the principles that we're teaching are demonstrating a positive expectancy. That is to say, if you follow your rules consistently over time, you will see the kinds of things we're seeing here today. So this chart over here with our splits, that's just advanced stuff that you can begin to implement in your setups when you start to get a little more familiar with your tools and you want maybe more aggressive entries or exits, or you want to know precise targeting, things of that nature. And so I'll continue to show those techniques moving forward so you're comfortable with those. All right, gentlemen, ladies, it's been an honor serving today. Let's stop the recording here. We'll come back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. Great session. We got money on the board. Let's see if we can replicate that tomorrow and Friday and get through another week with $500 or $600 per contract and go from there. You guys are the best. Great job today. I'm proud of you. Oh, you also need the workspace. Forgive me. I did all that and I didn't give it to you. No one reminded me. If you'd like a copy of the workspace in 7 that has the construction lines on it that we put together, please click on that link in the GoToWebinar chat box, and I'll be happy to get that over to you. Make sure you save that file in your workspace folder, which can be found under My Documents, NinjaTrader 7, Workspaces. Save it there and then go back and open it from your control panel. You should be able to see everything we did today with the construction lines. Take care, everyone. Nice job.